Just hang on.
Hello everyone, it's Steph here from Coin Up Community, and today, as you can see, I'm joined by Simon Barff, MD of CLMS, and he's actually joining me from the office. Hi Simon, how are you? Hello.
I'm very good, Steph. I think the broadband's dropping in and out a little bit, but yeah, I'm good, thank you. And you?
Yes, very, very good, thank you. Now, I understand you're well prepared there in your office. You've got your PPE sorted out.
We're all ready to go. So everybody's all face shielded up. We've got masks everywhere. We've got sanitizer gel all over the place. Sorry, Mr. Black, these aren't yours. I got these before. I knew you were making them. So. Apologies.
So it must have been a pretty quiet few weeks for you as the machines went off and the data stopped, and you must have been twiddling your thumbs there a bit for a while.
I wish. My wife is very good at making lists and prioritising my workload, so I didn't have a lot of rest, but it meant I spent a lot of time in the garden, which was good. Kept me fit, kept me healthy. But yeah, the business has been fairly quiet for the last 14 weeks. We started to come back around the 15th of June, which is when pub companies started to look at re-establishing their businesses and their trade, starting to get machines ready for opening, starting to get their pubs ready for opening and order their beer. So that's when we brought the team, or started to bring some of the team back in.
And then it must have been really fascinating to see the first data trickling through again from your Olga units.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's always been a tense time thinking about the restart. I know I've had lots of conversations with our clients in between the lockdown period, and going through waves of positivity and then negativity, and being really unsure about what the post-lockdown period was going to deliver. Obviously, we were never quite sure what the legislation would allow us to do and what the advice would allow local authorities to allow us to do. But it seems to be okay. I mean, we've looked at some really good data coming through to start with. We've got some good information coming through from the Olga units, and it's interesting to see how well the machines are performing relatively to how well the trade's performing as pubs are coming back.
What are the figures? Can you share them with us?
Yeah. Without going into any detail and without breaching any confidentialities, what we're seeing at the minute is around 58% of all the machines that we could see through Olga pre-lockdown have been switched on again. So there's 58%, just short 60% of all the machines live at this moment in time. From that, we're seeing currently the income levels are around 70% of the pre-lockdown for those 58% of the machines. So
70% sounds pretty good to me, considering the sort of strategy in and out for people coming in and out of pubs, and it's obviously there are fewer people in the pubs than there were before.
I think it's a lot more positive than people expected it to be, and the reason there's probably more machines switched off than you would first of all have thought were the pub companies didn't want to invest too much money in putting screens between machines and dividers to make all machines accessible to play when they weren't sure what the revenue levels were. I think now they've seen the early indications of where that revenue could be. They're now starting to invest in those screens and those dividers to actually make more of the machines that are on site accessible. So a bit like when you walk into Tesco's and you've got the two screens either side of you, and you walk in there and you do your scan and go and you book it off. It'll be very similar to that. So within some of the sites, obviously you'll have a little bit more room because machines are slightly wider. But yeah, there's more pub companies looking at that kind of product now because we're able to show through what we've seen so far where those income levels are likely to be.
Excellent. And there would have been some concern, I think, about the cash handling side of things, and touching the buttons and all of that from players. So that seems to be not so much of a problem as maybe we predicted.
No, I don't think so. I think anybody that's been into a pub will have noticed that most of the operators out there, if not all of them, and I haven't been into a pub yet, and I've been into quite a few, I haven't been into a pub yet that hasn't got the right level of safety equipment to make the business corona safe.
Right.
And it doesn't seem to be putting people off playing the machine, walking up and playing with cash. I think there was a lot of concern about whether, because we'd all gone to contactless pretty much during lockdown, and I know ATM providers were saying that their transaction levels had dropped by something like 80% during the lockdown period. We'd moved away from the few of us in the north that still handle cash have moved to contactless. But
Right.
there doesn't seem to be that kind of area of concern about handling cash in a pub environment. And it's great to see. I know from talking to some of my old contacts on the arcade side of the business, they're looking at levels of around 80% of pre-lockdown income as well. So it's healthy across the high street gaming sector, and which is great to see. And I think it gives us more confidence moving forward that we have a solid business once we start opening the rest of the business, once some of the pubs that haven't opened yet, because we've still got some really big retailers out there that are in phased opening programs.
Right.
The likes of Green King have said in the paper last week they've only opened 1,200 of their 2,500 locations. So they're in a phased opening program that will continue over the next few weeks and months.
Excellent. So, and you say 80% for arcades. So even higher.
Yeah, even higher than the pubs. I mean, some of the pub chains, when you start to break down the individual pub chains, obviously.
Just one minute. Sorry, I'm going to have to stop recording because there's some talking going on. Sorry about that. There's a little bit of a domestic interference. I wanted to ask you, Simon, about the differences in different areas of the country. I know that initially, as machines were going back on, there was some different interpretations, shall we say, of whether they were allowed to or not. Did you see that reflected in the data that was coming in?
Not so much in the data that was coming in, but we were certainly getting feedback from all of our clients, because obviously we deal with national retailers and some local regional brewers and local pub companies. And the difference across the country was quite extreme, with some local authorities being really supportive of the industry reopening and not being too draconian about how they interpreted the advice and guidance that was given out by the government. Whereas we had other authorities that were telling people they couldn't have the machine switched on, you couldn't have people walking up to the machines in the pub, you couldn't have people standing in front of the machines, you had to have a stool there, you couldn't play pool. But thankfully, most of that in England has been sorted out, and most of the local authority, I don't think we've got any now, have been sensible about the approach that we take. I think they've noticed that most of the pubs that have been opened have opened responsibly, and those few that have been reported where there has been some trouble and has been some hassle, the pub companies or the pub licensees have actually chosen to close those sites themselves. They've not waited for the police to come and actually take action against them. So they've seen that as an industry we've been really sensible about an approach to reopening the business. In Scotland it's a bit scary at the minute, because some of the police forces up there are taking a more I don't want to say draconian again, but I need to do. They're actually telling people that they can't turn the machines on. They can't.
But it's much. I mean, is it today? Pubs have opened.
Yeah, today's in Scotland have opened. They could open beer gardens from last Monday, but today they've opened. And looking at the income data, there's quite a few of the pubs that we're seeing some fairly healthy machine income as well.
You were saying there's some quite healthy beer drinking going on in the beer gardens last week as well.
Yeah, one of the pub companies we do said that they'd opened 3 of their Scottish sites, and on Monday last week they took as much as they would normally in a week. So obviously our friends up in Scotland must be thirsty.
Yes.
Ready to get, which is a great sign. But yeah, I think generally what we need to do is take a really positive look at the industry and say, I've been as down during this lockdown as everybody else, but it looks like we really do have a positive start position to move forward with. We just got to all be careful. We've all got to take responsibility for ourselves and look at, it's still out there. It's not gone away. It's not going to go away. We're all as vulnerable to it as we ever were. And we just got to look after each other. And hopefully we'll get through it in the next 12 to 18 months, and we'll get ready for the next one.
Oh God, don't say that. But in the meantime, though, for anybody that wants to know a little bit more about the figures and maybe wants to know about getting Olga installed in their machines if they've not already, and I think you've got about, is it 12,000?
Yeah, there's just short of 12,000 units currently installed in the marketplace. Obviously, they're not all switched on now because there's only 58% switched on, but they're still out there. And as machines do get switched on, as those pubs that reopen turn their machines on, we'll see more of those coming in. If anybody wants to know more about the data, please send me an email through or a contact. It's absolutely fine. If you want to know more about Olga, again, contact me. We'll take you through it and hopefully help you to get a better understanding of what happens in your pubs from a day-to-day point of view.
That's brilliant. And maybe we'll revisit once Wales is open as well and get more of a picture too.
Yeah,
Whenever.
definitely. What I will do is I'll drop some information through to Steph, and she can just put a little note in her weekly
I
bulletin if she
would so.
prepared to do that, and I'll just keep that updated.
Lovely. Simon, it's been really great to talk to you. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.